Las Vegas in the 1960s wasn't just a playground for the rich and famous, it was a stage for the Mafia's grandest performance. Beneath the shimmering lights and sold-out shows was a city run, not by entertainers, but by enforcers. Glitz and glamour? Sure. But behind the curtain, everything was bought, rigged, or threatened into place. What happened in Vegas didn't just stay in Vegas. It was protected, silenced, and controlled. And it all started with a murder. How the mob first moved into Vegas. The story begins in the 1940s with Bugsy Siegel, a flashy East Coast mobster with Hollywood dreams. Siegel had a vision for the desert, a luxurious casino resort, unlike anything else, the Flamingo Hotel. He poured millions into its construction, ignoring budgets and making powerful enemies in the process. When the Flamingo finally opened in 1946, it flopped, a financial disaster. 6 months later, Bugsy Siegel was shot dead in Beverly Hills. But his death didn't kill the dream. Instead, it became the green light. The mob saw the potential and moved fast. Through fronts and shell companies, organized crime families from Chicago, New York, and Cleveland began investing heavily in casinos. They used the Teamsters Pension Fund, yes, the same one controlled by Jimmy Hoffa, to bankroll their desert empire. Vegas wasn't a gamble anymore. It was a money-printing machine. With casinos booming, the mob turned their attention to entertainment. Not just for glitz, but for control. Las Vegas needed star power to attract the rich and the curious. And the mob made sure they decided who got top billing. Big-name singers, comedians, and dancers were brought in. But many didn't realize their contracts were controlled by shadowy figures, with names you didn't say out loud. Some celebrities played along, others didn't. Either way, the mob made sure the show went on, or it didn't. Residencies became the new Hollywood deals, and behind every glittering marquee was someone counting the money twice, once for the books, once for the bosses. Frank Sinatra was the crown jewel of mob-controlled Vegas. He was more than a singer, he was a symbol. Charismatic, powerful, and deeply connected to both Hollywood and the underworld. Sinatra had known mobsters like Sam Giancana for years. There were rumors of deals made in hotel suites, mob bosses sitting front row at his shows, and favors exchanged offstage. According to FBI files, Sinatra's private plane often flew figures who were under federal investigation. He performed at mob-owned casinos and was allegedly involved in helping the mob gain influence in Hollywood and even politics. But here's the twist. Sinatra didn't see himself as a pawn. He thought he was the king. And in many ways, he was. Until things got too hot. Running the casinos wasn't just about slot machines and cards, it was about skimming. The real profits were taken off the top before any money touched the books. Mob enforcers worked quietly behind the scenes, controlling stagehands, sound crews, even costume designers. Union workers were often tied to mob-affiliated labor bosses. And if a star demanded too much or showed resistance, things suddenly stopped working, microphones failed, stage lights shorted, hotel reservations vanished. Backrooms weren't for rehearsals, they were for meetings, money drops, and threats. Casinos installed surveillance, not to stop cheating, but to catch their own employees trying to steal their skim. Vegas was wired tighter than a Broadway production, and every spotlight was operated under the watch of men in the shadows. By the mid-1960s, Washington had noticed. Senator Estes Kefauver launched televised hearings exposing organized crime's grip on gambling. The American public got its first real look at how deep the corruption ran. But even with FBI pressure mounting, the mob's hold on Vegas remained ironclad until the 1970s. That's when operations like Strawman and Casino Skim began. Undercover agents infiltrated casinos, wired rooms, and flipped insiders. One major shift came with the arrival of Howard Hughes, a reclusive billionaire who started buying up hotels and casinos. Some believed he was there to clean up Vegas. Others whispered he was just a new layer of protection, a smokescreen to make the mob disappear behind corporate names. You think those shows were really sold out? Think again. The mob manipulated ticket sales to launder dirty money. Sold-out performances often had rows of empty seats, purchased by shell accounts and resold under the table. Big spenders, or whales, were tracked closely. Mob-connected staff in hotels and casinos monitored every move, from how much they tipped to who they met. And if someone became a threat, word would spread fast. Some hotel employees were even paid to eavesdrop on conversations, turn over phone logs, or provide access to rooms. Vegas was watching you, even if you thought you were the one watching the show. Not every performer in Las Vegas was willing to play by the mob's rules. Some stars resisted the under-the-table deals, refused to schmooze with shady characters, and turned down big money when they sensed strings attached. But resistance came at a price. Take Elvis Presley. While the king had a powerful presence on the Strip, much of his Vegas career was orchestrated by Colonel Tom Parker, his mysterious and controlling manager, who was known to keep mob associates at arm's length. Parker was a master negotiator, but even he couldn't fully shield Elvis from the city's shadows. Rumors swirled about cash payoffs, secret appearances, and quiet contributions that kept things smooth behind the scenes. Elvis himself stayed out of it, but many believed the system around him wasn't so clean. Barbra Streisand, on the other hand, demanded strict oversight of her deals. Her lawyers reviewed every clause. She had her own security, her own team, and didn't let anyone else dictate her schedule. She was a rarity, a woman headlining in Vegas, refusing to be intimidated. According to those close to her, Barbara's refusal to play nice with certain casino owners made her a target for subtle sabotage. Technicians would accidentally mess up her sound checks. Hotel bookings would mysteriously fall through. And then there were the comics. George Carlin, known for his sharp tongue, drew fire for mocking the establishment. Dick Gregory, who infused civil rights into his routines, was outright banned from certain venues. Behind the laughter was risk. These men weren't just performing, they were challenging a system built on fear. Some entertainers hired private security when they came to town. Others brought their own stage crews, afraid that union workers might be compromised. There were even rumors of stars paying off mob contacts just to be left alone, buying their silence, not their support. A few simply vanished from the Vegas circuit, not literally, but professionally. Their names stopped appearing on marquees. Their contracts were delayed or pulled with no explanation. Careers that once lit up the Strip faded without warning. It wasn't always direct threats. Sometimes it was just silence. A phone call not returned, a booking agent who suddenly dropped a client, a journalist who stopped writing about them. Vegas didn't just reward loyalty, it punished defiance. As the 1960s rolled into the 1970s, the Mafia's grip on Vegas began to weaken, but not without a fight. The golden era of mob-controlled showbiz was unraveling, undone by a lethal mix of exposure, reform, and changing times. The turning point? Money. The same thing that built the mob's empire now became their Achilles heel. Skimming, taking untaxed profits off the top, had worked flawlessly for decades. But new federal laws and IRS scrutiny made those hidden streams harder to manage. Paper trails got tighter, audits became unavoidable. The FBI had been watching for years, and now they were ready to act. Undercover agents embedded themselves into casinos. Operation Strawman and other sting efforts targeted frontmen and financial manipulators. Surveillance footage from the era shows suitcases full of cash being passed between hotel rooms. Hidden microphones recorded whispered threats in lounge booths. Agents gathered thousands of hours of wiretaps, implicating everyone from pit bosses to corporate executives. But it wasn't just law enforcement that changed the game. It was capitalism. Big business had its eye on Vegas. Major corporations realized that the casino business could be sanitized, legalized, and sold to the public, as long as the mob was pushed out. Enter Howard Hughes. The eccentric billionaire began buying up casino after casino, quietly, from behind locked doors, through intermediaries. Some said he was trying to clean up the Strip. Others claimed he was just another front, less flashy than the mob, but just as connected. Either way, his purchases marked the start of a new era, one where Wall Street replaced the mob's muscle. Corporate takeovers brought rules, regulations, and stockholders. Mobsters who once owned casinos on paper were now being squeezed out. Skimming became corporate theft, not street-level hustle. What was once managed with fists and fear now came down to legal departments and spreadsheets. But the transition wasn't clean. There were explosions, car bombs, mysterious deaths, testimonies that never made it to court. The ghosts of Vegas didn't go quietly. They went out with a bang, leaving behind shattered alliances and a trail of secrets that still haven't all come to light. And while the mob's visible presence faded, the system they built remained, just under a new name. Las Vegas was never just about lights and luck. It was an illusion, carefully crafted and ruthlessly protected. The Mafia didn't just run the money. They ran the mood, the media, and the message. Every card flip, every curtain drop, every standing ovation was part of a performance controlled from the shadows. The mob turned Vegas into a living movie set, and they cast themselves in every role: producers, directors, stars, and security. The show was designed to distract, while the real power played out in back rooms and private suites. Even now, when we look at the Strip, its polished hotels, high-tech surveillance, and billion-dollar shows, we're looking at a stage built on bones. Some of those buildings sit atop land once soaked in violence. Some of those neon lights shine over the memories of deals made with blood oaths. Today's Vegas markets itself as clean, corporate, and family-friendly. But the question lingers: did the Mafia really leave? Or did they just take off the fedora, put on a tailored suit, and step into a boardroom? Because in a city built on illusion, the most powerful trick is making people believe the danger's gone.